Good morning. So this is a recap of last night's role-playing session. So I've been gone for months. I haven't been playing from work related, mostly work related. That is ended for me now. I'm no longer going to be working nights, and a lot of personal family stuff. So it's just my life's been for for all intents and purposes. I just haven't been free to play in evenings, right? Nights, and or I've been away from my home. So it's just been it's been that way. That's just life. Everybody has it, right? Everybody has life. So it was great to get back to the table. Uh, um, and my return coincided with a Wednesday night off night in which the guys. So we have long-standing JOF campaigns. That's OSR, Old School Essentials, Old School. I think they're in session like 64. It's been going for years. And every other Wednesday had been kind of a night for Dragon Slayer or one-offs or short campaigns of something else like Simba Room, things like that. Okay. So Justin was slated. It was his schedule to run Pirate Borg. So it was my first chance back to the table, but also my first chance to experience one of the. I won't call them a hack. They're not a hack, but they are not traditional D20, right? But they're not really a hack either. They're kind of their own thing, but they use the D20 and they use some concepts. But I wouldn't even I don't even know if I would relate them to the traditional OSR kind of thing, right? So again, somebody else out there could tell me more what the Borg system, but I would say unique. It's a unique system. I think that's fair. Mork Borg, right? Which I'd never read, never seen. I think there's Cyborg. I think last night the guy said there's also Cyborg, and then this is Pirate Borg, and I think they're kickstarting a solo Borg, right? I think the guys again explained it to me yesterday. So first off, Justin's our GM. Dell is a player. I'm a player, and Todd is a player in this particular session. David couldn't make it. John couldn't make it. And they're using Foundry now. So we've been using Roll20 for Todd stuff for a long, long time. But I think everybody's now using Foundry. So a couple things. My first experience with Pirate Borg and my first experience with Foundry. So I left. I've been gone on and off for months, and I come back and we got some new things in the works. And Foundry works like Roll20. It seems fine. Didn't have any problems. I had no problems with it. It's attractive. It the same functions and features that you see in Roll20. It might be more reliable. I don't know anything about why you would choose Foundry over Roll20. All I know is it worked great. Okay. So Justin had a couple of things he had to do before we launched. He had to bring me up to speed with Foundry, how Foundry works, so to speak. So Justin did a great job facilitating the environment in which we're going to be doing this thing. So he had to kind of run us through, or me really, through a crash course in Foundry to some degree, but really more of a crash course in Pirate Board because I haven't read it, I haven't seen it. So he had pre-mades. I know nothing about the system and he did a great job walking us through it. I was completely and utterly confident in how the system worked based on what he told us pre-launch. He then walked us through the character sheets, walked us through the features of my character, and dealt through the features of his character. It is something you can pretty much teach pretty fast, right? All game systems have those details that may not come up until they come up, right? Like some rare ritual or spell that you're not necessarily going to engage in the mechanics of that until it comes up in play, right? So in that sense, we don't know everything, but we knew enough to know how to roll the dice and how to get the math and how to know if we were successful or whatever. And then he did a great job through the whole game. And you'll see I have the AP recorded. I just hadn't had a chance to upload it yet. He facilitates all of that perfectly. So great. So a quick recap. So and nobody except Justin, I think, had played a Borg game. Todd may have. Todd's one of these guys that seems to have played everything at some point. He's either run everything or he's played everything. So I think Todd may have had some experience with the Borg, the Mork Borg, right? I don't know though. I don't believe Dell has. I certainly haven't had any experience with it. But Justin had run the Pirate Borg for friends, right? Okay, so he at least was fluent in it and he knew what he was doing. So that was great. Okay. He was running an adventure. Justin generally runs written adventures, which is fine. I mean, that's the most people do, right? That's why people write adventures so people can run adventures. So he was running an adventure. I can't recall the name of it now. Something about Bahamas, buried in the Bahamas or something. So anyway, I'm playing a brute. I randomly grabbed the player based on his name. His name was Mikey Shakespeare. I can't remember his last name, but I chose him because Shakespeare was his nickname, his call sign. Then I pulled up the character sheet and learned he was a brute. He was muscle. He was a moron. He was haunted. He was haunted by a ghost, which is that's where Shakespeare comes from, right? Anybody who knows Shakespeare, familiar with Shakespeare, how the main protagonist Hamlet might be haunted by a ghost, or Macbeth, right? You've got the haunting of the consciousness of what occurs. So my character, it obviously is Shakespeare because he's haunted by this ghost that he sees, but nobody else can see. So that was very cool. So there's this instantly I've got this role playing element that makes that I've got to think about being part of my character's world, right? I mean, this is a world view that I'm seeing this thing nobody else is seeing, right? Okay, so I dig that, right? That's like, okay, cool. This gives me a sense of who this character is. But he's a brute. And when it comes to his class and his character sheet, he's the muscle. He uses a mast. He's got a peg leg, that kind of thing, right? Dell's character had insomnia. Todd's first character, because Todd actually's character died in the first round of combat, and I think his first character had a very cool, or second character, his second character, his hang up was he couldn't remember anything beyond a few days ago. And I thought, wow, what a great role playing challenge that would be that your character literally, if you're playing a campaign, and we're in the fifth week of the campaign, your character literally would not remember anything that happened days before that. And those are clever things that make me say this is very cool, right? This doesn't happen. This doesn't happen with, Holmes D&D or Moldvay D&D, right? So again, when people say those things aren't for me, well, I get that, but they do bring something new to the table. They bring something new to the experience as a player being a character. So I dig that shit. I appreciate that. Do I want all of my games to be that? Well, of course not. But again, as a pre-made, I love pre-mades because I don't preconceive the idea of what I'm going to be tonight in the game. I get to take this thing and say, oh, okay, I'm playing this, and oh, cool, it's got some things that actually create a kind of an environment of personality or an environment of character that I can sink my teeth into, even in a one-off. So I appreciate those things. Now, did we see much role play? Hard to do, right? This started in media res. We pretty much were right in media res start, which again I like. I appreciate in media res starts, and things moved along at a pretty good clip. Justin warned us before that this is about a 3 to 4 hour adventure. There's no way we're going to finish it tonight, so we're just going to play. So I think we did an hour and 45 minutes, maybe a little longer, but somehow I accidentally paused the recording, so we missed I think 15 minutes of the session before I realized the thing was paused. So that was a problem, but I didn't interrupt play to tell everybody. I just said, well, I just unpaused it. So I think I lost about 15 minutes of actual play. So when you watch the video, there might seem to be this weird hiccup between what we're doing and the boom where we're at. And that's because I somehow hit the space bar, which accidentally pauses the recording. Okay, thank God I saw it and didn't lose the whole session. Okay, quick recap. So, well, let me talk a little bit about Pirate Borg if I can remember. So, what Pirate Borg, you have a difficulty number. Most things need a 12. Your attributes are a modifier, a plus or minus modifier that's added to your D20 roll to beat that number. So, the standard difficulty is 12. I'm rolling a d20 to beat a 12, but whatever attribute or ritual or spell I'm casting can give me a bonus or a negative to that die roll. So, for instance, if I'm making a strength check, my character has a +3 strength. I need to beat a 12 with a die roll, a d20 die roll +3 is added to that. So the odds that I'm going to get that 12 is better. Some situations, for instance, my character, one of my class benefits as a brute is I lower everybody's DC by 2. So for me to hit a basic monster, I only needed a 10 and up to hit a basic monster, while Dell's character needed a 12 and up to hit a basic monster. Okay, so there's basically those kind of a DC 12 is the standard, but it can be affected by class or skills or rituals or blessing, whatever, right? You get my point. It can shift to a 10 or okay. So that's the system in a nutshell. It's that simple, right? And then of course you've got a D4, D6, D8 damage. There's armor soak. If somebody has armor, there's a soak for that. You flip you roll a die to see how much is soaked, that kind of thing. Okay. So that's the system in a nutshell, to be quite honest. It's that simple. So your weapon gives you a way to do damage. There might be something tied to that weapon, I suppose, if it's a special weapon or whatever. But I had a mast, an old broken mast I was using as basically a great club, D8 damage. My class gave me a lowered everybody's DR by 2, so I was going to be hitting things with a 10 instead of a 12. Okay. But if it's a strength check, right, I need to roll a 12, add my strength to it. If it was a spirit check, I think I was a -2 or something, then I would have had a negative to that D20 roll. So again, roll over D12, roll over D10, whatever. Okay. But it's pretty standard apparently. D12 is kind of that's the static number that's accepted for most things. Okay. All right. Pretty simple. I like that. That allows the mechanism of play to be very simple for everybody. Everybody knows exactly what they need to do and what they need to roll and drop the die. And we move past fail. We move on to engaging the narrative in a positive way or explaining the failure. Right. Okay. So in that sense, nothing new under the sun as far as how the mechanics affect play. Okay. So that's that. We're on a ship. Ships have their own dynamics. They have their own combat system, map and mini grid system for combat. I think the actual melee combat probably has a grid system too. We didn't encounter that. Justin pretty much walked us through. Well, we didn't have a naval combat, so irrelevant. It was a melee encounter in media res. Okay, so sets us up. We're on a ship. We have a captain. The name of the ship, the Tarantula. We have a captain named Bloody something. All right. Um, and in media res start, for 3 days, we've been hounded by, in a way, a ghost ship, some giant galleon that's outpacing us. By the third night, it rams us, and these skeletons pour aboard, and we end up in a combat, melee combat. Assuming our entire crew, not just us, but our whole crew, plus our captain, engaged in this melee. We see our captain killed immediately by their ogre, kind of an ogre, a large skeleton. I think it's called an ogre. And we end up in this melee in which we lose a character. We do defeat and win that melee. That leads to us escaping with 2 other crew members in a life boat. That lifeboat gets overturned by storm, and we end up washed up on an island. And then we proceed to use some of the other mechanics. You can salvage as a unit. So my character doesn't move independently. Dale's character doesn't move independently. We as a group had to kind of choose. Do we want to explore? Do we want to salvage? Do we want to hunt? And those things all have a certain amount of success and a certain amount of time used. And so we're weighing those things. So we did salvation on wreckage, and we're able to get some water to help us sustain our survival for 4 days, enough water for all of us for 4 days. We were able to find some wood, and we were able to find a raft, something that we could craft a raft. So we're stranded on an island. One of the NPCs with his spyglass spots 2 islands. He thinks one is a pirate's port, so we could go there and they would be pirates. The other, he believes, is where the captain was trying to take the ship, which supposedly houses treasure. We all, after spending a couple days on the island, exploring the island, doing salvage, exploring the island, we were able to collect some weapons. We're able to find some stuff. We're dealing with weather. He's making random weather rolls. We have to make checks for our rest based on whether we're getting food and water. Very cool, right? I think I failed one of my checks and I didn't completely get back all my what's called Devil's Luck. Devil's Luck allows you to make re-rolls for almost anything, right? Or other things like lowering a number or demanding their re-roll, or you get to make a re-roll. So Devil's Luck is kind of like a re-roll. So we all had 2, and then when you rest, you can get some of the Devil's Luck back. So we had a couple of days on this island, trapped on this island. We built the raft. That took us a day. We explored. That took us half a day. We were hit with horrible weather, so we couldn't do anything else that day. We woke up the next morning and we decided to weigh anchor on that raft and head toward where we believe the original ship, Tarantula, with our captain, were taking us to get treasure. Meanwhile, we have to make some navigation rolls, right? So I think Todd made not a navigation roll, I don't know what they're called, but Todd made a random roll for us for the tables. The other thing I didn't mention, Pirate Borg at least is all player facing. Players roll everything. So we were making the rolls for the random tables for Justin. So we would make the D12 roll and Justin would look it up, and then we make a D6 roll and he would look that up. And we were also making all the combat rolls for them to hit us, for us to hit them. So very much like Simba Room in that it's player facing. The players make all the rolls. The GM may make some rolls, but I don't think so. I think Justin just had us make all the rolls. That may not be required, but Justin was involving us that way, so we were doing that. And so we had some days where we kind of got lost at sea and We had some days where we hit a horrible weather which slowed us up. So we were now running out of water. We only had like a day's left of water, and we were probably a day's. So we were going to arrive at that island out of water, which would have meant we would start being affected by illness, dehydration, etc. So we didn't get that far yet. But we didn't get there. The third day, my role, the random encounter, I think, right? Again, we don't know. Justin didn't say, oh, this is a random encounter, but I'm assuming my role has led to this. A giant dragon turtle erupted from the ocean, swallowing a pod of whales, including us, and we are in the bowels of a living turtle and kind of washed up in its guts. And we're seeing other people living there. We're seeing a house, like a little island of rubble and old ships piled up in the guts of this turtle, and to the point that there's some smoke protruding from the chimney of this house. At least I think that's at least what I heard. And we realize there are people living in the guts of this turtle, and that's it. That's where the curtain falls on this session. So an hour and I would say about hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. Our first 30 minutes was going over Foundry and how the game worked and our characters, and then we started. I think we got about an hour and a half to play, 90 minutes of playtime, and uh, I liked it. Is it Is it different? Well, I mean, obviously it's different in that it's unique, in that it's pirate themed. It's different in that how it uses random tables for everything, which is very cool. Um, the GM has a pre-written adventure with its own random tables in it. So there's some cueing of the GM as to what's happening. There's some story going on that we're involved in. There is some linear pathway through this adventure, so to speak. But then that particular adventure has its own random tables, so you're not just using what's in the book. So in that sense, very cool. I could easily run this as a GM who likes to be naive, right? All I want to do is put the players in space and then roll, again, use a random table like that, right? And not necessarily know where we're going, know what they're doing, right? And so I could really enjoy GMing something like Borg. I don't know if Mort Borg's this way. I'm assuming Mort Borg's the exact same thing, but fantasy. I think that's what Justin said. So I could see this being perfect for what we refer to as the naive narrator, the guy who really doesn't necessarily have a plan for the night. There might be a scenario in which things start, but we don't, and we put in front of the players some mysteries and they pursue them, and then you make some rolls along the way to see what happens. I don't know. I'm not certain how the adventure's written, whether it's like that or whether the adventure actually has act one, act two, act three, how they're going to win the module. I don't know. There might be a evil entity and a great treasure we're supposed to find to win the module. I don't know. But meanwhile, it's all the stuff that happens to your character. It's not the destination, folks, in your life and in your gaming. It's the journey. So if you're playing your role-playing games to get to the destination, and that's the cause of your whole event, I think that could lead to some expectation problems for you really should be it should be the journey that you're on as characters and as players, and I think in real life, right? It's not the destination, man, it's the journey to get there that becomes what you talk about. It becomes what makes the story that we live, the story we tell, the story we encounter. So I think I like gaming to be very similar to that, right? That doesn't mean I don't want just jacking around, nothing to do, Grand Theft Auto shenanigans, right? You want there to be some semblance of a truth. You want there to be something that they are dealing with, maybe, but I don't want it. I'm not invested in whether they find that treasure or invested in whether they kill that bad guy or whatever, right? So, and I think this comes with maybe age. It comes with maybe just more comfortable after 35 years of being a GM or 35 years of being a player. I'm much I'm much bigger stickler as a player than I am a GM. I'm much more experienced and relaxed as a GM. That I can do it however I need to do it for my team, for my peers. If they want me to run more of a linear thing, or they want me to run more of a sandbox open world, whatever. I mean, that's what comes from being a long time GM. But as a player, boy, I'm a real stickler on what I consider the sweet spot in play for role playing, gaming, mechanics, freedom, agency. Dell and I stayed up afterwards and talked for about an hour, hour and a half, just in general about gaming. We talked a lot about player agency. I really, really value player agency as a player. I don't know as a GM most of my life how good I was at allowing player agency. Um, Players seem to enjoy being at my table and what I was doing, so I didn't question a lot of how I was doing things. Obviously, I came back as an adult, and you start scrutinizing the experience as a GM, and you start hearing people's feedback that aren't your friends, right? That didn't just grow up with your way of things. You start going, oh, wait, maybe I am doing too much driving. Maybe I am too linear. Maybe I am too much restricting agency. And that's evolved for me. I've become a GM who can do that, but I'm much more to the point that I've written a book. We've written a game and where we're saying you need to be a naive net presenter and hands off. Let the players have choices. Let the players go and adventure Dredgewater. Let the players go north to meet the king if they want to. Let the play whatever the players is in their fevered mind of what they think their character in this world's motivations are, right? Does that make for great gaming? Not necessarily. Again, a lot of people like to have a thing. They want to have a mystery to solve. They want to have a murder to solve. They want to have a dungeon to crawl. Nothing wrong with any of that, right? So we started in media res, had a little bit of a chance to get character out there, to get a little bit of us bringing the character to life. Not easy to do when we're playing pre-mades, not easy to do when it's our first experience, not easy to do when we're in media res combat. And then, from that to the to the lifeboat, from the lifeboat to the island, from the island to getting off the island, to then the pursuit of getting to that island, to being swallowed by giant turtle, and closed curtain. And so now what will we encounter inside this giant turtle? I mean, our quest will probably be, I mean, in general, my character's going to want to get out of the bowels of this turtle. So I'm assuming now our major priority is how do we get out of this thing, right? How do we, or how are we going to function inside this thing? Is this the nature of our adventure? We're going to actually function inside this creature. Who knows, right? We don't know. But my character, I can tell you immediately, can't fathom the fact that I'm in the bowels of a turtle. My character's already questioning the reality. Did this happen or did we just get shipwrecked, right? And again, remember, my character also, part of the character sheet is not only his poor score in his intelligence, but it flat says he's an idiot, right? So my character technically is a brute. He's a musclehead brute who is haunted by an entity. So my character's not real bright. He may never fathom that we're in the bowels of a turtle, right? I'm already processing, you know, I don't know if he would even understand the situation, right? He's just I'm a peg leg pirate on a raft with these guys, and I've got to survive. What's this? I don't know if my character is going to be concerned about the greater understanding of things, right? And I'm just trying to stay alive, and I'm trying to get rum, and I'm trying to get gold so I can get rum, right? And boy, I wish this lass would leave me alone. This haunting, my ghost is a lass, right? It's a woman. I didn't designate it. This was cool. I was talking about this phantom that's there that I'm seeing while I'm fighting the skeletons, role playing and kind of giving everybody some information about what my character's seeing as I'm trying to fight these skeletons. I've got this thing that's in the way that's bothering me. Meanwhile, Justin hints that it's a woman. I was like, that's awesome. So now I'm saying, okay, so who is this? Who is this woman that's haunting me, right? So I haven't figured that out. But it's like, okay, it's a woman. So I'm now going this Lass. I'm now talking to it. Lass, get out of the way, Lass, right? Because I don't really understand that it's not that it's in my head, right? It's great fun, right? I'm enjoying that portion of the character in the role. The game system functions exactly as it should. It functions as designed. I think it facilitates um, quirkiness, and it facilitates exactly what it's trying to do, which is create variables, right? And I think for the most part, that can be difficult for a GM to be checking random tables, but it can also be easier for the GM because he's not necessarily trying to drive you through some story, right? Some act one, act two, act three, right? So anyway, long story short, great game, Justin. Fantastic job, man. Todd was able to teach me Foundry in a couple of minutes. Was able to impart, I thought, the entire rule set for us to be newbies to the game pretty damn quick. There were a couple of hiccups, but that wasn't his fault. Foundry has a bug in it that every time we roll damage, it takes it off our characters. We had to keep going back in. So if I caused 8 damage to the skeleton, it would take it off my hit points. So I'd have to go in and correct. I would have to go back in and put 8 hit points back on my character. But that was just a snafu in the programming. It had nothing to do with the game, nothing to do with Justin's running of it. It's just a snafu in that Foundry code. So we got to figure that out, or we just have to do this if we continue to play with Foundry, that kind of thing. For some reason, that particular rule set, I think a Pirate Borg rule set has this weird bug in how the hit points are coming off the damage is coming off our own characters. So it's great. Again, Dell and I stayed up and talked for about an hour and a half afterwards, just in general about how we like to role play, what we're looking for as players, not just GMs, but also how we want Space Age of Man to take the concepts that we began in Dark Age of Man and move further toward those innovations and leave less of the traditional stuff out. We made compromises with Dark Age of Man for the sake of recognition, for the sake that people could recognize the traditional role-playing devices and traditional role-playing mechanisms. But some of them were compromises that neither one of us wanted to make, but we felt we had to for it to be, for it to be in a way our first role-playing game book. Space Age of Man, many of those mechanisms may vanish as we're going to get closer to what we're trying to do for players and GMs. But this is a process of development. We're in no hurry. But these experiences, last night experience, plays a big role in helping us confirm what we don't want our game to be, what we don't want our GM to do, what we don't want the experience for players to be. And that's not a knock on what we had last night. It's not a knock on Justin or the system or anything like that. It's just we want the system to be a lot more agency, a lot less happening to us, right? Less the thing happening to us and more some freedom to stretch in the directions we might want to go as characters, right? So how do we do that? Well, that's where Dale and I have got our work cut out for us, right? And the reality is we may not come up with the best answer. We may not be the guys who can come up with that mechanism. It may take us a while, and we may not be able to figure it out perfectly. But there is a desire to create a role-playing game that really is about role-playing, less about game. And that has been my quest, why I always use simple games, why I always tried to facilitate the game for my players so they wouldn't be bogged down in the game itself. They could get more into character, they could be more characters, living in a world, doing a thing, making decisions from their character's perspective, in character as character play. It's what I would like as a player. It's what I would like all of my gaming to be. I like game, but I would like to write a role-playing game, a game that is really first and foremost finds a way to mechanically feature role play, less about gamey things. Holy cow, we may not be capable of doing it, but by God, I'm going to try. Maybe energy ill spent. As many people would say, dude, just role play whatever game you're playing. Yeah, that's what we've been doing for 50 years, 40 years, 30 years. And which is why I've always argued some games allow that through their simple mechanisms. Some games get in the fucking way of that with their bullshit mechanisms or their horseshit or their just overly cumbersome mechanisms or the mechanisms that tell me how to feel, mechanisms that tell me I'm scared, mechanisms that tell me I'm losing my mind. I don't know if those are mechanisms I want, right? I had mechanisms last night that told me I was dumb, ignorant, and I had mechanisms that told me I was haunted. Very cool, right? That didn't tell me how to feel about things. It didn't tell me what I wanted, my motivation. It didn't tell me how to act. I chose how the haunting showed up. I dictated in my description of my character fighting the skeleton being affected by this ghost that's constantly in my peripheral vision, somewhere crossing my path or standing in the back laughing at me or whatever. I decided that, right? And how it's affecting me, I'm flavoring that. Can Justin later use this thing to talk to me? Cool, right? Justin could embody this thing to whisper in my ear something. Very cool, right? That's out of my control. Love that. But it doesn't tell me how the haunting mechanically affects me. I decide that, and I love that. But I like the fact that it's there because I have to acknowledge it. Hey, this is a fact. I'm Shakespeare because some characters in Shakespeare were haunted by things, right? Haunted by, right? Hamlet, haunted by seeing his father, right? So that's very cool, right, for me. Most people don't even want that, right? They want to roll up their character, they want to make them a fighter, they want to name them, and then they want to kind of find out who their character is. They play, they're going to role play a little bit. Again, that's what we do 99% of the time, and that's cool. The point is, it was wonderful to be back with the guys, back in the seat. It was great to try Foundry for the first time. It was very cool to witness Pirate Borg and to play those mechanics. Fantastic. So again, I want to thank Justin for a great night. We're going to be in 2 weeks. We'll be picking up in at least session two and hopefully finishing this story, this adventure. And then of course next week is Joth. I'm going to be making a new character. We're in a new place, and I thought, I'm not going to try to drag one of my characters over. I'm just going to make a new character and drop them into this where the guys are already at. So I'll have a new character in that. And again, I think we're back in the big city. And I'll make a character, roll up a character, and drop them into this party in session whatever we're in. I think where were they in 65? I think. So very cool. Again, Dell and I have put out feelers, what we'd like to do. And I literally have any night of the week open. I would start a game group, and that would be our night to do our thing. Obviously, I'm involved in Wednesday nights. I don't want to play multiple nights of the week, but we're hoping to put out feelers to do some mini campaigns. 4, 5, 6 sessions, maybe rotating GMs. I want to try. There's some OSRs I want to try. There's some different genre OSRs I want to try. I think Dell's on board with that to some degree. We'll see. But yeah, I won't say I'm burned out. I can do fantasy. I'm a fantasy guy, so fantasy I don't burn out on. I know a lot of people need a break, and I don't necessarily want 3 game. I don't want to be. I don't want 2 game nights always being fantasy. That would stink. So that's why the one-off thing's kind of fun. But it would be nice to experience rotating GMs in different genres, playing some of these OSRs that I've always wanted to play. I don't know how any of that's going to go. I don't know long term how long that's going to go, right? I don't know if that's going to manifest itself in any useful way, right? Um, you would think, oh, you want to start a game night and play Dark Age of Man? No, there are other games I want to play and other genres I want to play. So that would be cool. But it would be great if we might give them 5 sessions, 6 sessions, 8 sessions experiences, and maybe rotate GMs and give those a gut. But we'll see. It's the problem is so many games, so little time, and schedules for all of us adults with families and with jobs and with whatever. You've got to find a way to schedule all that stuff, and that's just the way it is. And so that's why you want to keep your hand in, and you want to do what you can to enjoy people, enjoy your friends, enjoy your hobby, and hopefully there's times where you're doing a particular project for a particular thing, right? So anyway, I hope everybody out there is loving their hobby and is having a good time. I don't know what day is it. It's Thursday, right? So everybody out there have a great upcoming weekend. I hope everybody's well and enjoy your hobby. All right. Bye-bye.